All right, let's talk about discipline. We're going to try to hack it, but not with the usual stuff like willpower or little motivation tricks. Nope, we're going to get right into the wiring of your brain. We're going to figure out how to work with its ancient programming instead of constantly fighting against it, so you can finally build that self-control you've been looking for.
You know that feeling, right? We've all been there. You know exactly what you're supposed to be doing, but it's like some other force inside your head just says no. You plan out this whole productive day, but you end up procrastinating. It feels like a personal failure, but what if I told you it's not really your fault?
See, here's the real problem. Our brains are basically running on caveman software, but we're living in a super modern world. They evolved to survive by saving energy and grabbing any immediate reward they could find. But now, we live in a world of endless, perfectly engineered instant gratification. Every app notification, every sugary snack, it's all designed to hack that ancient programming. And this is what that mismatch looks like in real life. This is the giant canyon between what we intend to do and what we actually do. We make these great plans with the best intentions, but when the moment arrives, that ancient part of our brain just picks the path of least resistance every single time. So, what is actually going on inside our heads during this internal tug of war? Well, our first step is to understand who's in the fight. Let's meet the two main players who are constantly battling for control over your decisions. On one side, you've got the planner. This is your prefrontal cortex. It's the sophisticated, logical part of your brain that thinks about the future and your big goals. And on the other side, you've got the toddler. This is your limbic system. It runs on pure impulse and emotion, and all it does is scream for immediate rewards. I want it now. Real discipline is just letting the planner win a little more often than the toddler. And this brings us to dopamine, which most of us get totally wrong. We call it the pleasure chemical, but it's really the motivation chemical. It's that little jolt of craving that drives you towards something you want. And that toddler in your brain? It is a total dopamine junkie, always on the hunt for its next fix. And herein lies the problem. When we just blast our brains with easy dopamine hits from social media and junk food, our system actually adapts. It starts reducing the number of dopamine receptors to handle the flood. It's basically like turning down the volume knob on satisfaction. And the result? Regular healthy stuff starts to feel really boring, and difficult tasks feel completely impossible. So, how do we possibly fix this? Well, the answer isn't just to try harder. It actually requires a huge mental shift. So for our next point, let's talk about why we need to stop staring at the finish line and start focusing on the kind of person we actually want to become. Check this out. Author James Clear breaks down change into these 3 layers. And most of us, we start from the outside in, with outcomes. We say things like, I want to lose 20 pounds. We focus on the result. But this is actually the least effective way to make a change that actually sticks. The real magic happens when you start from the inside, with identity. You don't aim to run a marathon, you aim to become a runner. You don't try to write a book, you try to become a writer. See? This reframes everything. The goal isn't just some outcome, it's to prove your new identity to yourself with every single action you take. Now, making this shift means we have to completely change our relationship with difficulty. When something feels hard, our brain screams, stop, this is bad. But we have to retrain it. We have to see that discomfort not as a stop sign, but as a signpost telling us we're on the right path. That feeling of discomfort, that's the feeling of growth. Okay, so we've got the brain science, we've got the mindset shift. Now for our third and final section, let's get super practical. How do we actually give our planner brain the tools it needs to win against the toddler? Let's dive into 4 science-backed tools for your toolkit. This first tool is so simple, but it is wildly effective. It's all about making the decision before you're in the heat of the moment. You're not trying to rely on willpower when you're tired and tempted. You're just running a program you already wrote. Seriously, this is like writing a single line of code for your brain. For example, if it's 5 p.m. and I'm walking out of work, then I will drive straight to the gym. Or if I get that urge to mindlessly scroll on my phone, then I will pick up my book instead. It's simple, it's specific, and it totally removes the need to think or debate. All right, our next tool is all about destroying that moment of hesitation. We all know that split second, that pause where your brain starts making excuses and talks you out of doing the thing. The 5-second rule is designed to just blow right past that.
As Mel Robbins explains it, counting backward from 5 actually wakes up your prefrontal cortex, your planner, and it interrupts the emotional toddler brain. It's like a launch sequence for action. The second you hit 1, you just move.
So, what if you could actually make a difficult habit more appealing? That is the entire idea behind temptation bundling. You're basically linking something you have to do with something you get to do. You use the fun thing to pull the hard thing along with it. Now, the secret word here is only. For example, I can only listen to my favorite true crime podcast while I'm at the gym. Or I can only watch my favorite trashy reality show while I'm folding the laundry. This makes the chore the price of admission for the reward, and it tricks your brain into actually looking forward to it. And finally, you can just turn your goals into a game. Our brains are hardwired to love games. Tracking points for every workout, earning a little badge for a week of healthy eating, or just trying to keep a streak of daily meditation going, all these little things tap right into our brain's reward system and make the process itself feel fun and engaging.
So we've got the science, the mindset, and the tools. Now let's tie it all together with one final, really powerful idea, a concept that can reframe every single choice you make every single day. This right here is the whole thing in a nutshell. Going to the gym, that's a vote for being a healthy person. Writing just one paragraph, that's a vote for being a writer. Resisting the urge to scroll, that's a vote for being a focused person. And you know what? No single vote ever decides an election, but they sure do add up. So the big takeaway here is this. Forget about trying to be a superhero with superhuman willpower. That's just not going to last. Real, unbreakable discipline is about building a system, using tools just like the ones we talked about, to cast small, consistent votes for the person you want to be day in and day out. Look, this whole process doesn't start tomorrow or on Monday. It starts with one tiny decision, one small action that proves to yourself who you are becoming. So I'll just leave you with this question. What's the one small vote you can cast for your future self right now?